The Syracuse men's lacrosse team was on the hill this past week to try and get back on track after suffering their first loss. Could they stop Lyle Thompson and Albany?
And it wasn't just the men's team who played on the hill. The Lady Orange returned to the Carrier Dome to play 2 games against ACC opponents.
And the softball squad finally got a few games off at home. A Tar Heel doubleheader went down over the weekend. Find out about this and so much more. Sit right there because OTB starts right now.
Make the ground shake.
All right, so you may not have been watching Syracuse sports over the weekend because of all that NCAA basketball nonsense.
Well, lucky for you, we were watching.
That's right. Welcome to the Citrus TV studios for yet another episode of On the Bench. I'm Ron Schultz, joined tonight, as always, by Katie Muldowney.
Thanks. And yep, we've got a lot to cover, so we'll get right into it by heading into the Carrier Dome for the men's lacrosse game.
That's right. We head right to the Dome where Syracuse got to take on Lyle Thompson and the Great Danes of Albany. We'll start right in the first quarter, 8 minutes left. Kevin Rice, the unassisted goal, tying the game up at 2. And ties were a big thing in this game in the beginning. Lyle Thompson here, another unassisted goal. 3-3 tie, 5 minutes left in the first. Another unassisted goal, this time Jordan Evans, the 22, getting on the stat sheet. 4-4 tie game, 1 minute left in the first there. Then Henry Schoonmaker, his first of 5 goals for the game. 12-7 there, 8 minutes left in the third. Blaze Reardon here saves, tries to get the ball out of the net, runs up the field. Tim Barber gets the steal, gets it all the way back to Kevin Rice. Goal, 13-8 SU. And then Nicky Galasso, one of his 4 on the season, his best for the year. 17-12, SU wins it in the Dome, getting back on track there. The Orange were led by Henry Schoonmaker's 5-goal performance. Captain Kevin Rice added 7 points with 3 goals and 4 assists. Nicky Galasso had his most prolific game, notching 4 goals and an assist. Ben Williams was up to his old tricks, winning 24 of 27 faceoffs and swallowing 15 GBs. Bobby Wardwell also had an impressive 12 saves. Lyle Thompson's 4 goals and 3 assists weren't enough to power the Great Danes as the Orange got 17 of their 32 shots past Great Dane keeper Riordan. Citrus TV's Bailey Lipschultz has more on the Orange win.
After getting just 3 goals from the Middies in last week's loss against Notre Dame, the Syracuse midfield stepped up with 12 of the team's 17 goals in their win over Albany.
Albany was really focusing on our attack, and when our attack is that good, then it just helps us out a ton and gives us opportunity.
We wanted to shut down their big-name players, Kevin Rice, Dylan Donahue, all those guys. And we knew Schoonmaker and those guys could make plays, and we wanted to make them make those plays, and unfortunately tonight they did. They scored the goals.
A number of times our middies got dodges to score, and I think, you could see the output with Schoonmaker and Galasso.
In my eyes, this is the best team in the country. Syracuse is the best team in the country. And, they're without Randy Stats, in my eyes, their best player.
With Randy Stott's status still up in the air, the Orange resumes ACC play when the team travels down to North Carolina to take on the Tar Heels on Saturday. Reporting from the Carrier Dome, Bailey Lipschultz, Citrus TV.
The Orange remain number 2 in the polls for the 2nd week in a row behind Notre Dame. Citrus TV Marcus White joins us in studio for a closer look at the men's lacrosse team.
Now we welcome in our Citrus TV beat reporter for the men's lacrosse team, Marcus White. How are you doing this evening?
Very well, Ron, very well.
All right, it's time to talk a little bit of men's lacrosse. The number 2 team in the country. They got back to their winning ways after a tough loss to Notre Dame. You come into this game, and it's really been the bread and butter of Syracuse. The way they've been winning these games is because of Ben Williams and his effectiveness at the X. How has he been able to do it all year?
It's really strange to talk about because it seems like the conversation around the Syracuse lacrosse team the last few years is when are they going to find that face-off guy, and it seems like they finally found him. The coaches really talked about this week that the biggest key to his success are Ben Williams' quick hands. He's able to win clamps very easily. Rarely do you see him get beat off the clamp, and usually if he does get beat on a face-off, it's off of a ground ball. And also the coaching of assistant coach Kevin Donahue. He's really coached up all of the face-off guys this year, including Ben Williams, to be more than just Fogos. They're not just in there to win a face-off and get off the field. You've seen that with Williams taking the ball up in transition and even getting back on defense the rare times he does lose a face-off.
And I think the last time we saw a player like Ben Williams come in and play the face-off position was really Jeremy Thompson, someone that could come in, win the face-off, and play at both ends of the field and didn't have to just get off like you were talking about. And that brings me to my next point. His brother, Lyle Thompson, great player, Tewaaraton co-winner last year with his brother, Miles Thompson, at Albany. Just an incredible player. How well was Syracuse able to contain him in the Albany game? I know he did have a couple points, but how well were they able to contain him?
About as well as you could expect on a player as talented as Lyle Thompson. Brandon Mullins was on him earlier in the game, and Thompson really seemed to have his way with him early on, and that actually made the coaching staff pull Mullins from the game and briefly put Ralph D'Agostino on him. They tried to mix up the looks, tried to slide off ball, but with a player like Thompson, you can't really stop him. The best you can do is hope to contain him. 7 points, maybe a little more than Syracuse wanted to give up, but I think they'll take it, especially considering the win. And I think the most impressive thing from his stat line is those 7 points came with, we were talking about earlier, Albany only won 5 faceoffs the entire game. It just shows how dominant of an offensive force Lyle Thompson is, where you give him that few of touches, he's still able to light up the score sheet.
And things don't get any easier for the Syracuse defense this week. With UNC coming in, they got an incredible attack. Joey Sankey and Jimmy Bitter, both on the Tewaaraton watch list. What's their plan? How does Syracuse contain these guys?
Well, last week they faced 2 of the top 12 scorers in the country. Now they're playing 3 of the top 12 scorers in the country. The tests just keep coming for this Syracuse defense. The biggest thing they talked about this week was that North Carolina's offense is really more isolation-based than Albany's. Albany's was very focused on off-ball movement, finding off-ball cutters. UNC's is more focused on taking your guy, dodging to goal, and trying to score. The biggest thing they're going to have to look out for, they said, is they're going to be playing on natural grass this week for the first time all season. Jay McDermott told me that you really got to watch your footing on the natural grass as opposed to the turf. So they're getting in more of a one-on-one defensive mindset for this attack group coming up this weekend.
And there is a familiar face that we haven't seen on the field much for the Orange yet, in the last few games. Randy Stotts, what's the latest? What are we hearing about the chances that he could play this weekend?
Well, Coach Desko kind of surprised everybody at the media op on Tuesday, saying that Randy Stotts had practiced the day before. They were hopeful that he was going to get back on the practice field again, and they're hoping that he'll be back in action on Saturday when Syracuse takes on North Carolina. It does remain to be seen how much of an impact he can have on the offensive end. Tim Barber has played pretty well in his absence. Not as dominant of a player or as creative as Stotts, but he has filled in well. But he's just a very dominant attackman, was on the Tewaaraton watch list, so he's going to be a big boost to the Syracuse lineup if he can come back.
And it, again, proves it's expected to be another great game for Syracuse this weekend. Thank you very much for being. I'm excited to watch it, but thank you very much for being with us, Marcus.
No problem.
The Lady Orange are ranked number 7 in both media polls, scoring 13 of its first 15 shots. The team had a season high in goals on Saturday when they faced Virginia Tech in the Carrier Dome. Well, we were there in the Carrier Dome for that game on Saturday. Less than a minute into the game, we see Taylor Gate here with a shot on goal. Now, it wouldn't take Virginia Tech very long, less than a minute later, with the answer by Megan Macera, tying the game 1-1. Moving on, junior Kayla Trainer, goal, puts it into the net. That's a nice shot there. Now, Erica Boat, another shot, and a lot of shots in this game. That's the theme. Kayla Trainer again, back, another shot on goal to end the first half. Now moving into the second, Haley Majorana in the net. Virginia Tech, Megan Macera, we saw her earlier. puts another one in the net, but Virginia Tech still behind. Lauren Ziegler putting SU up 17-7. In the end, SU wins 22-8 Virginia Tech. Now, the Orange played a strong game from the beginning against Virginia Tech. Juniors Kayla Trainer and Haley Majorana scored a combined total of 11 points for the Orange, leading the offense. Here's a fun stat, Ron. 10 different players scored at least one goal for the Orange. Syracuse outshot Virginia Tech 33-28, while both teams recorded 17 ground balls and 16 draws. Both goalkeepers, Kelsey Richardson for the Orange and Megan Graham for the Hokies, had 6 saves.
Let's stick around because we're not done with lax. OTB back in 90. Don't touch that remote.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
The women's lax team has been struggling a bit with the toughness of their schedule. The team had lost 4 games heading into Tuesday's matchup with Notre Dame, number 13, and even those 4 losses, the Orange remained at number 7 in the rankings. They look to get back on track with a win against the Irish in the Dome on Tuesday. Syracuse in the Carrier Dome for this game against Notre Dame played Virginia Tech in the Carrier Dome for their last game. The first goal scored by Notre Dame's Rachel Sexton with an assist by Bree Custis as time expires in the first half, leaving the game tied at 4 going into the half. 25 left, Syracuse's Haley Majorana scores with an assist by Kayla Trainer. SU leads by 4. Then, 19 minutes left into the second, Notre Dame's Stephanie Toy scores an unassisted goal as Notre Dame leads 7-5. Time winding down in the second, Erica Boat scores with an assist by Haley Majorana to tie the game at 10, and we are headed into overtime. 3 minutes left into the overtime period. Notre Dame's up, leads 11-10 right there. And again, in the overtime period, Notre Dame's Caitlin Cargan buries it, giving Notre Dame a 12-10 lead on the Orange. SU would score a goal in overtime on a goal by Devin Collins, which we see right there, but it wouldn't be enough. Notre Dame holds it on to win in overtime 12-11. And a tough loss for the Orange in overtime. Devin Collins tied Taylor Gate with 3 goals, each scoring an efficient 4 shots each, but it wasn't enough as Rachel Sexton, Stephanie Toy notched 3 goals and 1 assist each. Liz O'Sullivan had 9 saves to give the Irish its best win of the season. Citrus TV's Andrew Morris has more on the Orange's disappointing loss.
After smoking Virginia Tech last Saturday, Syracuse fell just short in its final ACC home game of the season to Notre Dame 12-11 in overtime. It was a sloppy game for Syracuse, 21 total turnovers, plus Notre Dame is just playing good lacrosse.
People were surprised on Saturday with Virginia, and now today for us to have played a great opponent in Syracuse and come out with a W, and really it was who was going to get that last one to go in the back of the net. I mean, it could have gone either way, to be honest.
Beat a top 4, they beat us, so they're putting themselves in a great position now. And they showed why. They're athletic, they hustle, they make plays.
I think they were just pressuring us. I think they were doing a good job pressuring behind. I know I found myself getting double teamed behind and turning over the ball.
Now Syracuse travels to take on number 2 powerhouse North Carolina this Saturday. Syracuse does not have this season's history on their side. They're 1-4 against ranked opponents on the road. Meanwhile, North Carolina only has 1 loss at home this season. Reporting from the Carrier Dome, Andrew Morris, Citrus TV.
Well, heading into Friday's doubleheader with UNC, the Orange softball team had only played on their home field to practice. The 2 previous scheduled home games had been canceled, bringing the canceled total to 9 on the year. But the team did get out there to play the Tar Heels, so let's head to the SU softball stadium and take a look. And the team got a big win in the first game with a complete game from Jocelyn Cater, but the second game we'll check out here as the Orange took on the UNC Tar Heels. Jump right to the third. Taylor Wicke scores on a wild pitch as Akila Mateen advances to third. Then also in the third, Syracuse able to tie it up with an RBI double here by Danielle Chitkowski. Bernhardt scores. It's a 1-1 tie ball game. Then we got later in the game a single to right here by Katie Cossey. Jordan Scarborough scores for UNC on this tough play in the deep infield there. Then the dagger, the 3-run homer to right center. 6-1 UNC. Syracuse wouldn't be able to get the double-header win. So like I said, they did get the win in the first game 4-2 with the 2 2-run homers, one from Julie Wambold in the second and one from Career Uzan in the third. Jocelyn Carter was able to hold the Tar Heels to just 2 runs in a complete game effort. And as we saw in the second game, did not go as well as North Carolina was able to notch that first inning run and 3 runs in the 7th inning to put the Orange away. The nail in the coffin, Jenna Kelly's 3-run homer in the 7th.
You could argue that the softball team has been out of luck this season here on the Hill, but not because of what's happening on the field, but rather what hasn't been able to happen. Saturday's game against North Carolina was canceled due to weather, making it the 9th game to be called off this season, like Ron mentioned. The Orange will be on the road for the next 2 games before they return home to play at Skytop Softball Stadium. And as spring football season comes to a close, many are counting down the days until fall. See what Coach Schaefer had to say about the future of the Orange coming up next.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
After all the offseason news about the basketball team and the infractions for the school, the football team was eager to hit the field again and get back to business. The annual spring game took place in the Dome this past weekend, and Coach Schaefer looked to show that his team was ready to get back to work to become relevant in the tough ACC. And they did take to the Dome. There were a decent amount of fans there on hand. We had 2 different teams, one headed up by Terrell Hunt, and the other headed up by Austin Wilson, as we see here. And A.J. Long also got to play. Austin Wilson, a pretty tough passing day for him. A.J. Long did play pretty well. Red shirt for him, though. Terrell Hunt, also a tough passing day. Steve Ishmael probably was the best-looking receiver on the field, but he was overthrown a lot by Terrell Hunt. The fans there were actually a bit disappointed as they were unable to see the orange uniforms, as it was supposed to be the blue and orange game. It turned out to be the blue versus white game, as someone forgot to order the orange jerseys in time. Scott Schaefer said that the game really was all about finding out what the orange had in their depth, and Citrus TV's Christian Pedersen found out more about what the orange is looking for this season.
SU finished up its spring football activities with a scrimmage here in the Carrier Dome today. A little bit of an offensively underwhelming day with only one touchdown being scored. But despite some of those setbacks, Coach Scott Schaefer and Terrell Hunt both seem to be excited about what the Orange could take away from today.
And then before you know it, we'll be kicking off on that Friday night against Rhode Island. So it'll be here before you know it. Got a lot of work to do before we're where we need to be, but a good session, good spring session out of the kids.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, they're all going to be a big weapon. The only way we're going to, get stopped is if we stop ourselves, and that's what we did. So I got the utmost confidence in everybody on my team.
A lot of post-game excitement here as fans got to hang out, meet some of the players, get excited for next season. This is all leading up to September 4th, when the Orange are going to open their season by hosting Rhode Island here in the Loud House. Reporting from the 5-yard line, I'm Christian Pedersen, Citrus TV.
The Syracuse track team kicked off its outdoor season with 3 events this past weekend. Sprinters and jumpers took on the Auburn Tiger Invitational, while the distance runners attended both the Sam Howell Invitational at Princeton as well as the Stanford Invite. The highlight of that long distance meet at Stanford was that Martin Hare came in second place in the 10K race, and he even set a Syracuse school record with his 28-minute, 27-second performance, while Freddie Crittenden notched a second place finish in the 110-meter hurdles at Auburn. The Princeton meet was a bit more unkind to SU sprinters, with Paul Lavelle coming in 6th and Molly Malone coming in 8th.
Yeah, that's right. We just gave you a track update. Crazy, right? Well, stick around and we'll tell you what to watch for this weekend and hand out those coveted OTB medals. Don't go anywhere.
Thank you. You got a king?
Go fish!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does. And like that, you're a job creator.
So we cover a lot of content during our 30 minutes of fame here every week.
But even with all that, there's still so much more to see.
Head over to our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages to check out exclusive footage and recaps for everything SU at Citrus TV Sports.
And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel to make sure you stay up to date on all Orange sports. And now for our tweets of the week. First off, Malachi Richardson is the headliner for the 2015 Syracuse recruiting class. Tweeted, "Syracuse will be fine next season, #Orange Prize." Clearly, I can't even say that tweet, Ron, so.
He's saying Syracuse, we gon' be fine.
I didn't put emphasis on the gone.
Hopefully, Malachi is right, Katie. With all the players that are coming next year, and the players that are leaving, especially Chris McCullough, it was a tough one, and Thomas Bryant deciding to go to Indiana, it's sure to be interesting. Anyway, moving on to an SU alum, New England Patriots defensive end Chandler Jones was feeling extra orange. He tweeted, "Shout out to Syracuse University." Kind of random, but I like it.
Well, shout out to you too, Chandler. And last but not least, Syracuse defensive back Darrell Eskridge tweeted this before the Orange Pro Day on Tuesday. Thank you, Syracuse University coaches, fans, players, academic staff, and supporters for everything. #GoOrange. Even with a little orange and preach emoji. You gotta love a good emoji, right, Ron?
I like that picture too, him in the locker room. It's cool to see, the players really appreciate everything that they've gotten out of this program. Even though, Syracuse had a rough couple years in football, but it's good to see.
A very down-to-earth look behind the scenes in the locker room.
Absolutely. So it's time now for OTB's weekly honors. We start with the bronze medal, which we give to softball pitcher Jocelyn Cater, who pitched 7 innings over the weekend, allowing only 2 runs and striking out 6 en route to a complete game win. Great game for Jocelyn.
And the silver medal is going to Haley Majorana, who notched 6 points over the weekend with 3 goals and 3 assists in the Lady Orange's 22-8 against Virginia Tech. Majorana helped the Orange improve to 9-4 on the season.
And drum roll, please. The gold medal goes to men's lax midi Henry Schoonmaker. For his 5-goal performance against Albany, the Great Danes were no match for the little speedster. Those 5 goals almost double his total of 7 on the season before. That makes 12 for those of you that aren't good at math. What a game from the speedster, Henry Schoonmaker.
And looking ahead, no games on Friday, but a packed day for the Orange on Saturday.
Yeah, tennis, women's lax, men's lax, and softball. Just name a few, Katie. But the men's and women's lax team will face UNC in Chapel Hill, while tennis will head to Winston-Salem to take on Wake Forest. One team, however, does remain home. The women's softball team will host Pittsburgh at 1 p.m. Tune in to Z89 to listen to Coach Gates. To the Orange softball team. But we'll see if they actually play that game. As we've seen, it's been a little
rough luck for
going.
the softball team. And you can watch the men's lax team play on ESPNU. Sunday, the tennis team plays another away match at Virginia Tech, while the softball will face Pittsburgh again at noon. Just a note here, the softball team only has 5 more home games remaining, and like we said before, they've only played 2 games at home so far due to cancellation.
So that's pretty much all the time we have here tonight. But before I go, I want to say thank you so much to everyone that's made these 4 years happen. This is Katie and I's last show here at Citrus, and it's been a ride.
A quick highlight for Citrus TV, if you could sum it up in one word.
Covering the men's lacrosse championship in Philadelphia. But there's one thing I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to pretend to be Bill Rafter and say, with a kiss! All right, anyways, I've done that now.
Well, thank you for joining us for another great show here on The Bench. I'm Katie Muldowney.
Have a great week, and here are your images of the week.
Called for warding off. A goalie just called for warding off. Goals open, rights open, shoots and scores.
Has it down low as Virginia Tech was trying to escape the zone. Gets picked off, Majorana to the cage, shoots and scores. That's pretty.